Welcome back to the Blue Shark Show. This is our 50th episode. We'd like to thank Galtech Roofing today for sponsoring the Blue Shark Show. Galtech Roofing was named runner-up 3 years in a row for the best of Hood County. And today we're going to talk about the ESD from the Commissioner's Court on May 25th. The Commissioner Court voted 5-0 to table the ESD motion to have the citizens vote on an ESD for De Cordova.
Yeah, they did. You know, they said they have to look out for the whole county, and honestly, it was excellent to see all the commissioners united in this.
I was so glad to see them all come together as a united front on this and work together for the best interest of the entire county.
They sure did. Give, great kudos to all the commissioners, the judge. There was a lot of people that spoke up about, the county-wide issue, just not one specific ESD out of 9, but the county commissioners and the judge, they realized, and they even said they're responsible for the whole county.
Right.
And let's do something that brings the whole county together and not just piecemeal everything where you have one ESD, because all 9 departments in the county depend on each other. And it's one big fire department basically where everybody's helping everybody else out.
Yeah, it's nice to see them, the commissioners, willing to address the equipment and, possibly some space needs for these VFDs.
Right, and you had the Fire Marshal, Jeff Young, get up there, and he did a great job too.
Anything that's ever been asked for has been provided. So until this year, I know we've had meetings at the Chiefs Board and they talked about their needs and all of that, but it was never presented to the court that I know of. Granted, I was just an employee until 2 years ago. Now it's my place to come and ask you for these things. I just want to point out, nobody has ever asked that I know of for anything that wasn't provided. So when all of this started coming up, that's when I came to y'all and talked about, we're talking about up to a $15 million bond. And that's not even, we haven't even drawn everything up yet.
Good job. He said, look, I've been here a couple years. Everybody's gotten everything they've asked for as far as the volunteer fire department, and a lot of things they haven't asked for it. And now all of a sudden, after all these years, and here we go with infrastructure again.
Yeah.
Right? Everything's coming to a head. We need equipment. We need all this stuff, which is fine. But the Commissioner Court did a great job on saying, look, let's look at this through the budget. Let's look at maybe we need a bond. And when the bond got thrown up, it was what, 15, 16, 17 million? That is huge.
Yeah. To spend all that on the equipment and some space needs that they may have, and they're going to, do some research on that. That is a big symbol from the commissioners saying, look, we want you guys to be funded where you need to be.
Right, but once again, you have to show the commissioners where you need it, how much money you need, what your budget is going to be, and what the capital cost is going to be. And it still didn't seem like it was enough for the De Cordova people that were coming up and saying, hey, that bond, we really don't, that's fine and dandy. Thanks for the 15 million, but we need guaranteed money for the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, and no government body can guarantee funding past the current operating budget. I mean, you just can't do it. To ask for that is asking for something they can't deliver on.
Our station's perfectly fine. In fact, we have room for more vehicles. And that $8 million or more dollars is going to be spent for other departments when we're telling you that we need personnel, correct? And then the other thing I want to bring up, and the only other point that I want to bring up is, can you guarantee funds past next budget cycle?
You had Donnie Stone, which is a captain of the De Cordova department, and he came up and said, hey, we already have room in our building. We don't need the bond. We don't need capital expenditures. We need people. So that's what he's talking about, is paying people.
Right.
And having a paid fire department.
Yeah, and there is a big distinction there, and it's funny because at the start of all this, they said, well, we need equipment. So the commissioners come back and say, okay, tell us what you need. We'll be happy to give it for you. Now coming back around, they say, well, we want to do this bond because you and these other fire departments have a lot of equipment and space needs. Let's do this. But that's not good enough for these guys. It turns out it's not about equipment. They have what they think they need to spend on personnel.
Yeah, and Rick Fry brought up some great points about the expenditures of having your paid fire department and where most of that money actually goes to.
How is that money going to be spent? Are we going to allocate? We're going to have 4 people staffed somewhere, somehow. We're going to use it for this. In a municipal budget, which I'm familiar with, about 90% is personnel, and that includes things that insurance, everything in the world, workman's compensation. So you're only operating with about discretionary budget, spending-wise, O&M budget-wise, 10%. So if in Hearst I had a $4.5 million budget, so I had about $450,000 to run the fire department on. The rest was people. There's administration cost. If you have $1.2 million, you're going to have a board of 5. If you have personnel, you're going to have to write checks. You're going to have some administrative costs. It's not all going to be people sitting their butts in fire trucks making responses.
And you brought up Rick Fry. He's a retired fire chief, emergency management coordinator, and he's been involved in, Hearst, some big cities. And he was talking about like a $4 million budget and only maybe $400,000 or $500,000 being for capital expenses. The rest all go to your paid, fire department for all the benefits and salaries and things like that. And then later on, you see, Commissioner Eagle and Commissioner Jack Wilson, and they're talking about 75% to 85% of the volunteer fire departments in Texas, United States, are all volunteer.
Yeah.
So somehow they're able to do it, right?
But Commissioner Wilson pointed out, and I found this out on my own. He pointed out 75%. I had found over 80% of the fire departments in the United States are volunteer fire departments. Somehow they've figured out how to do this.
Right, obviously there's a way to make this work, and the commissioners are looking at the budget to make sure that the volunteer fire department is taken care of without creating a whole other taxing entity in and of itself just for one particular fire department. And then you've got the piecemeal issue with all the others. Yeah,
and Jack Wilson, he did a great job just reading the stats and taking from the record, the 75% volunteer fire departments across the state and nation. And then he even went into some of the document that was brought to him by De Cordova and used their own stats.
Mm-hmm. This addition would bring the 9 departments in Hood County to the equal of the average equipment as the 10-city average after personnel or without personnel cost. And you can shake your head. There's your document that said that, sir. In other words, the fire departments would have the same equipment without the cost of personnel.
Yeah, he was able to make a numbers-based, hey, here's an evaluation of the system, and what you guys are saying just isn't adding up.
We talk about the Commissioner's Court, and, Rick Fry did a good job. Clint Head did a good job of explaining some things. Becky, the auditor, got up, and she did an awesome job of saying, look, guys, the court's here for you, the county's here for you, the people are here for you. We had people give up their training budget to get air packs.
I'd just like to point out that this is not the only decision these gentlemen have to make. When the fire departments came and Jeff said, hey, we need air packs, every department said, take my travel, buy air packs. Am I correct? So everyone in this room that represents a department wants to help. I want to help. Everybody here wants to help the fire departments, but that is not the only thing on the table, guys.
So it's not as if the county and everybody's against the fire department. They want the fire department equipped, just like the citizens. But let's look at the whole county, not just one little area.
Yeah, what we're seeing is everyone willing to come together and work together to make this happen.
Yeah, Becky, she made that illustration, and, it's just incredible that even with all this positivity and, people saying, hey, we want to help you. We want to help you. Look, we're going to dump $15 million into the volunteer fire department. Look, we're going to redo the whole budget just to make sure that we're funding you guys, because due to that lack of communication over the years, it hadn't been happening. And that's still not enough for some of those people. And it's not that it's all the firefighters do not want an ESD. There's some that do and some that don't. And a lot of them that I've talked to say, look, I like doing this because it's a community service.
Right.
I like doing this because I take pride in it. I'm a volunteer. It's a very proud tradition that we've been continuing, and it's honestly part of American culture. You know, that goes back to when we were colonies and stuff, and, you know, they don't want that to go away when you start paying people and, you know, running into the issues that come with that.
And you brought up payment of the volunteer fire departments, and Kevin Andrews, Commissioner Andrews, brought up a good point.
You know, we've got to address EMS. We've, you know, spent quite a bit of time. EMS is a huge part of this. The chances are EMS is 80% of our calls. We've got to get EMS on scene faster. We've got to get the patient to the hospital faster. That's the answer to this thing.
So let's look at some of this EMS to help balance out the volunteer fire departments, and maybe we can, you know, work some things in through there. But when you come to the Commissioner's Court and you want something placed on the ballot, but you have no budget set, you don't have the wording for what's going to be placed on the ballot. So the Commissioner Court, are they going to vote for, put it on the ballot, and they can put anything they want on the ballot.
Yeah, you can't really do that.
No, so, you know, have your budget, have your wording. In my opinion, they were really unprepared for this, on pushing this through as an ESD. So I think we're kind of at the point now where, you know, the money's probably coming. It'll never be enough. It'll never be that guaranteed that
For
some
some
people want, right? But I think we can get to the point where the firefighters are safe and the citizens of Hood County are safe.
You know, and one of the things that was brought up, I forget exactly who it was, but somebody made the point of, look, you can pay everybody in the world, but unless they have fire hydrants scattered in places in the county that currently don't, you can only do so much to improve your response time. Part of that is going to be putting those pipes in the ground and putting those hydrants on the streets.
Yeah, and there's some more infrastructure stuff to consider for the county as well.
You know, and something else with this, the guys that are wanting to start a new layer of government out there, you know, we're all about transparency. If you're wanting to start a new layer of government, it would help in the people that are tasked with making this decision if y'all would be pretty transparent with them. You know, the books for the last 3 years, you know, they've been asking for the wish list, so to speak, for equipment and space and capital expenses. You know, let's just be sure that we're giving them everything they ask for and being upfront with things like, hey, we have $200,000 worth of debt that we need to do something about. You know, we've got this funding issue. We've been operating on a deficit for the last several years. Let's bring all that stuff out to the forefront and be transparent through this process.
And that's all part of being honest with the process, with the citizens, and not trying to cover anything up. I think having these talks are great. Even Dave Eagle gets into the situation here with the feasibility study, things like that, and that's what you brought up, Nate, on how is all this going to work. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a very valid topic, and it still needs to be addressed. And really, when you look at De Cordova, and it's kind of another elephant in the room, De Cordova is a city in and of itself, right, just like Granbury. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the city of De Cordova, you know, if people are really interested in getting a fire department, there's nothing that's holding the city of De Cordova, you know, back on, you know, getting their own fire department.
That's true.
So there's a lot of different ways to look at this, but, you know, going back to the Commissioner's Court, this was a great job by the Commissioner's Court. You know, everybody involved, I think, did a really good job on moving towards what the county as a whole needs. So when you see a Commissioner's Court moving in this direction, not that everybody has to agree, but moving towards a solution, talking about it, what's best for the citizens, because there's going to be a lot of money spent.
Yeah.
So you want to know where your commissioners stand, where your county judge stands. And we actually have two people that have come out early and decided to run. One for commissioner in Precinct 2, which is Kelly Van Buren.
Yeah.
And he goes to a lot of commissioner courts Where does he stand on this issue? This is, millions, potentially millions and millions of dollars. I haven't heard any Kelly get up to the microphone and speak. Tyler was over a couple $1 million or 1.2 million.
Yeah.
Haven't heard a word on that. And then you have another person running for county judge, Zach Maxwell, and he attends some of these, commissioner courts. But where are they on these? These are the biggest issues coming up for Hood County. Your ESDs, your potential bond, maybe $15 million bond, your 1.2 Tyler. Where do they stand on these issues? Are they going to be the typical politician that goes, I'm not going to say anything till it's over, and then I'm going to take what everybody said and take the best route? I want to know, if you decide to run, folks, I want to know where you stand on these issues, because this is what the people of Hood County and Granbury want.
Absolutely.
They want conservatives stepping up saying, this is what I would do if I was commissioner or judge.
And really, in order for the citizens to make an informed voting decision, they need that information, because these issues are not going away. These issues are going to be there if and when one of them get elected and hold office, and they're going to have to deal with it. So the voters need to know where they stand.
So one thing that's been really cool over the last few years, basically since 2015, 2016, when Trump was coming around, is that campaigning has changed. At least within the Republican Party. Used to, guys would run and or women would say, look, I'm going to take the fewest positions possible between now and Election Day because I will turn off the least amount of voters. And used to, you could run on platitudes. You could talk for 5 minutes and not say anything. You can't do that anymore. If you're campaigning, it's, again, campaign 101. Take the positions. Let people know where you stand so we know who it is that we're getting and we know what's really on the ballot this November. This ESD debate is probably not going anywhere. Bond issues are going to come up, and the voters deserve to know where every person stands on these.
And, you're right, Nate. The campaigning has changed. I think more people are watching the candidates, their elected officials, and they have to see a difference between who wants to run against Cotton, who wants to run against Judge Massengale. And if there's no difference, then, who are you going to vote for, right? People want a difference. They want a change. They want Hood County to grow. So, campaign 101, people, you sign up to run. It's time to put your positions out there, especially on these big ticket items.
Yes.
So we'd love to hear from the candidates where they stand. We heard some people from people in the community, like Rick Fry. Great job once again. So let's hear from our candidates.
Absolutely, y'all are right. The people deserve to know where the candidates stand on these issues before it's too late. And it's so good to see the commissioners come together. A big kudos to everyone working so hard to try and make this work and doing what's best for the entire county.
And it's also been interesting, like we talked about a little bit before, watching this conversation evolve from we need equipment to, well, really it's about getting paid personnel into the building. And, kind of not mentioning the fact that you got to have that infrastructure too. So a lot has come out of these talks, and I'm so glad that the commissioners are taking a thorough look at this and giving it the attention and detail that it needs.
Some of the issues still that kind of need to be brought up is 80% EMS. So what do we need to do with EMS? That situation needs to be looked at. What do we need to do with capital expenses? Let's look at the county as a whole when it comes to firefighting, because, Rick Fry even brought it up of we all need to work together. We're going to work together regardless. So let's do it as a county and put resources where they're needed. And I think that's the best way to do it. This is by no means finished. Budget's coming up. Commissioner Cotton even said, let's look at what's going on in the budget. Let's see where we can put money in. And the court agreed with all that. And Brent Wilson got up several times to speak. And at the very end, when the Commissioners Court voted to table the motion, he got up and said, "Good job, guys."
Oh, was he being sincere when he said that, or a little sarcastic?
No, he's being sarcastic. But I would like to say, and not being sarcastic, that was a good job by the Commissioners Court.
Yes, it was.
Guys, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. If you want to support the Shark Show, not only do we have ad space available now that you may see at the bottom of your screen, but we also sell merchandise. These hats like Mike and I are wearing today. Courtney's wearing one of our t-shirts, and we all have the tumblers in front of us as well. And if you'd like to purchase any of that, please head over to blueshark.media.
Thank you for watching Blue Shark. Blue Shark is here for you, the citizens, shining the light on your appointed and elected officials. Shark Show out.